The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, my name is Rick Rector, publisher of Security Systems News, and I want to welcome you to today's webcast, Safe Cities, powered by Interoperability. This webcast is produced by Security Systems News and sponsored by ONVIF. ONVIF was founded in 2008 by Axis, Sony, and Bosch to create a global standard for the interface of IP-based physical security products. The organization was developed to provide increased flexibility and greater freedom of choice so installers and end users can select interoperable products from a variety of different vendors. In its early stages, ONVIF members were from the manufacturing industry only. In recent years, membership is open to consultants and systems designers, systems integrators, and end users. To date, ONVIF has a global member base of established camera, video management system, and access control companies, and more than 10,000 profile conformant products. Before I introduce our speakers, a quick housekeeping note: we welcome and encourage questions. You will see a little box on your control panel, and if you can just enter your question there, at the end of the presentation, we will get to as many of those as we can. We have two expert presenters for you today, and I'll introduce them in the order in which they'll speak. Unfortunately, Stuart Rawlings was called away unexpectedly, but he was able to find a highly qualified substitute in Tom Dodrill, the segment marketing manager for Pelco by Schneider Electric. Tom has over 40 years experience in the development, marketing, integration, and installation of video surveillance and security products for their city surveillance, intelligent traffic management, and casino markets. He began with analog video matrix switching systems and motion detectors and progressed to digital video management and video analytics systems. Tom has participated in the transition of data sharing using point-to-point protocols to multi-system communications using correlate information from disparate systems. Per Bjorkdahl is the current chair of the ONVIF Steering Committee and has been since the fall of 2012. Per is involved with ONVIF's conformance initiatives and represents the member-driven organization as a speaker at trade shows and other technology events and to the media at large. His professional career includes a lifelong commitment to technical convergence with Axis Communications and companies like TAC, now part of Schneider Electric, advocating for the acceptance of communication standards in the building automation industry. Per has worked in the physical security industry for more than 25 years and was an early supporter of IP technology within the industry. Per is currently Director of Business Development with Access Communications, a position he has held for over 20 years, or for almost 20 years, sorry. So with those introductions, we have an excellent presentation for you today, and let's get on with it. Tom, take it away.
Sure, thank you. So it's an interesting paradox that the only thing that's constant is change. City managers are challenged to make their cities safer, often putting extensive planning measures in place to solve current or future problems, all aimed at increasing the quality of life. Often city managers will turn to technology to help. Sometimes technology just shows up. As technology advances, it may solve one problem while creating a whole new set of problems. Let me give you an example. So the world's first planning conference was not about infrastructure challenges or resources or even crime. What city planners were in a panic about was the problem of horses. Everything and everyone was moved about cities by horse-drawn vehicles. In New York City, the population density grew to about 90,000 people per square mile, and the number of horses was estimated to be over 100,000, producing 2.5 million pounds of manure per day and over 3 billion flies. And then there's a problem of dead horses lying in the streets. Just think of those traffic jams, all of that created. One way urban planners set out to create change to mitigate this problem was to set aside vacant lots for manure piles. Then came technology. Oops. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. So the invention of the cable car, electric trolleys, and ultimately the automobile Flash forward 25 years, and while there are no horses left in New York City. This massive change just sort of happened and was not planned on by urban managers. The pace of change radically changed the economy of New York City in just a few short years. The first new interconnected technology to manage this were cops at every intersection looking at the traffic and looking at each other to decide who should go and who should stop to keep traffic moving. If you take a look at the image here, you'll see that in the middle of every single intersection, there's a police officer standing there. The point here is that technology is constantly changing and causing massive changes at a faster and faster pace. What's news today is obsolete tomorrow. Yeah, we'll get this right here. Sorry about that. So if we look at New York City today, almost 100 years later, we see the results of the last technology revolution, system automation. Cops in the streets are replaced by traffic signs. The traffic lights are interconnected with one another to keep traffic flowing. Street lighting signs automatically turn on and off to follow the sun. LED video message signs adjust the message to attract the widest audience in the shortest amount of time. All of these systems are working independently, all to attract, control all of the various traffic and people that are walking around, all trying to influence their quality of life. So what's next? Well, as technology progresses, automation is everywhere. We are in the middle of the next revolution, which is automation through data. We are rapidly moving from just sending information to people on a large-scale basis to receiving information from individuals on an even larger basis. Think about what we have today on your vehicles, your cars, right? The cars all have tires on them, and we're always worried about trying to keep the tire pressure set. Today, your tires tell you what their tire pressure is. There are smartphone apps that tell us what the pressure is, what the temperature of the tires are, what the depth of the tread is, and recommend when to purchase new tires. This is not only true for cars, it's also true for bicycles. Combining this with GPS, they could track where you drive. They could send messages to your loved one to announce that you've arrived at your destination. And they're able to track every single location that you have been at. Individual citizens have also become data sources. We've expanded beyond being just a data receiver and now are a source of data. This has led to the inevitable measuring of one person's digital footprint against another, often called your social score. It leads to measuring your trustworthiness. You may be on sick leave, but your Facebook page shows that you're on a cruise. So all of your digital interactions can be captured and be analyzed. China has introduced a new concept called social credit. The social credit system is intended to standardize the assessment of a citizen's business, economic, social reputation, giving you a credit score. This social credit score can influence your ability to get loans, attend schools, get or get denied jobs, and even influence your ability to get access to the internet. Let's take a step back and see how the automation of all this data applies to our systems. Like our car tires and our digital lives, each of these systems have become a digital data source. They have their own individual area of responsibility, but now those areas are overlapping. data is created, shared, analyzed. And it's not just data, it's big data. It's a lot of data. And the ultimate prize for city planners is to gather all of this data, get it packaged in a way that they can understand it, make smart, informed decisions, and increase the quality of life of its citizens. Per, I'm wondering if you'd like to expand on this a little bit.
Yeah, I could actually. None of these systems sort of existed in conjunction in like 10 years ago. So this is a dramatically quick development that's taking place. All these different systems used to have their own sort of low voltage systems. And once IP got introduced, people started to see the economy of scale on running larger IP networks and then hooking all the different services on this. And what we have seen over the past years is that sharing of data can create extremely efficient sort of management of systems and systems depending on these systems.
Thank you. So we look at this statement by Peter Sonnegaard from Gartner, former Executive Vice President of Research and Advisory. He said that information is the oil of the 21st century, and analytics is a combustion engine. Let's analyze a little bit. I mean, like oil, information is just there. There's not really much you can do just looking at the information. You have to process it. You have to take it, you have to rip it apart, you have to recombine it, and you have to use it to do something. Analytics does that. It takes all of this data, all this information, it organizes it, analyzes it, and helps come to some decisions that can allow city managers to process and to enact different laws or different vehicles in which to enhance the quality of life for the citizens. But what happens if this information gets compromised? What happens if someone hacks in, steals the information, or worse, uses that information that they've taken, changes it, and manipulates the very systems that depend on system-to-system information in order to operate? Well, we get chaos. While data security is vitally important, there really is no single product or single process that can mitigate someone coming in and stealing and manipulating that data. It takes a combined operation of system processes, technologies, and people all working together to safeguard the information, ensure the information is viable, and that the systems work as intended. This goes beyond just simple virus protection. This goes beyond just understanding how the systems interact. It's constant monitoring, it's staying on top of what's going on with the system, and ensuring that the connections between systems are safe and secure. So here's an example of a modern system, a modern city, and how they are integrated and interoperable and are becoming even more integrated and more interoperable today. So look at a smart building. They automatically control the lighting, the heating, the air conditioning, elevators, the contact waste management, when to make pickups and when to skip the building. They'll provide information to the utility companies of their energy usage, whether it's predicted to go up or down, when it's going to go up or down. Contact waste management, let them know how much waste management is going to be needed, whether that's going to go up or down, give them some prediction. Utilities in turn take that information and try to predict their power production capabilities. Do they need to buy power from other areas? Do they need to increase capacity? Do they need to increase the purchase of fuel in order to create power? What can they do to minimize disruptions to keep the power flowing in the city? Vehicles that come into the city are often directed to different parking areas, parking spots within those parking areas. They're interconnected on GPS maps. They can pay using their phone apps. Rail and transit times are adjusted based on demand. Tracking systems display when a train is or a bus is going to arrive, so that citizens know when to be there, when they can either go get their latte and wait for the bus, or when they need to be out there at the bus station. Cars will that come in, the information is transmitted through the city surveillance system to let emergency responders know where to respond and what type of equipment to respond to. If there's a car accident, they need to send the police and an ambulance, or just send a tow truck. And mass notification systems can be implemented in the event of a mass event. On a much smaller scale, all the way down to the vehicle, we can see that vehicles have sensors everywhere today. Almost every aspect of a vehicle is monitored. This information can be uploaded to the vehicle manufacturer for analysis. Adjustments can be made, new features, upgrades sent, etc., all while charging overnight. At the same time, the vehicle manufacturers can provide this information to city planners, where the vehicle's been, where they're going, how much power they need, to allow the city planners to adjust infrastructure upgrades and to change traffic routing. Welcome to the new digital economy, where everything is interconnected and our digital lives are analyzed. I'm sorry, I'm having some finger problems here. Okay. So what is a safe city? Well, it's a city that enhances the quality of life of its citizens. And how we get there today is through interconnection and sharing of data. Much of this is already going on, and it's only going to increase. Some of the challenges that face our cities today, well, obviously crime prevention and investigation, traffic congestion. Traffic congestion always leads to environmental problems. Operator fatigue, all the various operators trying to maintain the various systems that are out there. And of course, budget constraints. How do we make the budget dollar stretch further in order to lessen crime, decrease congestion, make our environment better? Let's take a look at traffic monitoring and some of the challenges that are associated with that. So traffic is a major contributor or detractor to the quality of life of the citizens. So monitoring video from traffic cameras, while relatively easy, becomes a major problem when we need to start sharing that video amongst various agencies, all of which probably have different video systems. And those video systems are all located in different areas. So how do we get this information from one location to another in a way that can help the city planners improve the operations of the city? Similarly, with city centers, you have the city surveillance systems, which are aimed at monitoring and sharing video between different agencies, between public entities and private entities, providing real-time crime monitoring, investigating different views for creation of evidence, again, amongst disparate types of systems, different type of cameras, different type of video systems, different types of case management systems. All of these things need to be integrated together, all while trying to maintain a smaller budget as possible for the city. This is creating a tremendous challenge and putting tremendous pressures on cities to provide a high quality of life for the citizen. This leads us to the role of integration in a city. The only way cities can meet the challenges is through integration or the interconnection of multiple systems, all of which probably communicate using different methods. While they're all on the internet, on the network. They're all using IP. They're all using different commands and different command standards to interact with themselves or with other systems. If we take a look at cities themselves, we often find they have 5, 6, 7 cameras all on the same pole facing the same way. That needs to change. We need to have one camera for the sake of efficiency and for the sake of budgets, but we need that camera to talk to multiple systems. Modern technology, while helps, also disrupts and hinders the collaboration of information sharing. If we look at this intersection, we see there are a variety of different sensors which all are involved with monitoring traffic. Some are cameras, some are Bluetooth in-ground sensors, some are attached to poles. Some are just data collectors such as radar sensors. All of these are collecting data. All of these are trying to send this information to a head end. All of these systems are trying to monitor movement of cars and people. Yet they all communicate differently. And each manufacturer has their own way of communicating. And again, integrating all of these different systems takes time and takes a lot of money. Similarly with city surveillance. Cameras can pick up images of crime, but different cameras have different features and communicate both video and data in different manners. So the best way to get a camera to pick up the image you want and control it, then select a different camera that may have a different view to get a better image. You may be connected to a completely different camera, and the ability to communicate to those two different cameras seamlessly from your head-end system is very important. Which leads us to a fully integrated system. Fully integrated system will integrate different systems or different sensors, all from different manufacturers together, as low cost as possible. Current technology of just trying to integrate different systems will result in a very expensive way of doing it, very time consuming, as each system's individual software development kit has to be integrated to every other system's software development kit. So the goal here is to have a fully integrated and collaborative system of various third-party systems all working as one. This will serve to decrease the impact to cities' budgets, reduce time of response to incidents, increase efficiency, and increase the total quality of life for its citizens. Per, would like to discuss the emergency of standards.
Yes, I would like to. Can you hand over the controls to me as well so I can advance the slides? I think
yes,
we got
sir.
here. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we got a very nice presentation here on what a safe city is and what it requires technically to be able to deliver to that requirement. ONVIF is one of those organizations or standard groups that is trying to provide or working extremely hard to provide those standard interfaces that make this development possible. If we simply compare with internet, I mean, network computers have been around for quite some time before the internet really emerged. And the reason why it became so readily usable everywhere in all the different applications was because it was based on one single standard, IP communication. And once that was available to everyone could start to develop services and stuff, cool stuff around the internet. So without the standards, that would not have happened. When we move into the technical part of these systems, it becomes, as Tom says, extremely expensive, cumbersome. You build something which you need to maintain forever. So this is not really the way forward. So the emergence of standards here is extremely important because the message is loud and clear. Products must be able to connect to an IP network. And that is driven by the analytics, the real-time decisions, the complete connectivity. Otherwise, you can't achieve those things that would improve the quality of life for people living in cities, the traffic flows, the infrastructural systems that need to work in a big environment. I think security by itself is a smaller portion of this to be able to deliver what is required in a smart city. Once we have these standards established, we can get a full utilization of standards and do provide the true IoT, the openness that everyone's asked for, and the unlimited interoperability, not depending on a limited number of manufacturers. Let's see how this works now. I clicked once. I clicked twice.
Still not working. Hold on a second. Let me just make sure we've got you on.
I got a.
Try it again. We do sometimes have this transition sometimes as a problem here. Let me try it again.
I lost the symbol in the panel here, in the control panel.
There we go.
Back.
Let me try this.
Let me try now.
Try it now. Try it now.
No. Can I ask you to advance one?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Next slide.
Okay.
There it is. The benefits of standard. Of course, you get an increased flexibility and a greater freedom of choice. So what an end user or an organization hates the most is to get a lock-in from various manufacturers. So what happens if with a well-working standard is that you can select from a variety of different products performing the relatively same task, and you can actually challenge the manufacturers and by that achieve a better competition. You get future-proof systems and more secure investment. You do not have to build your system once and maintain forever. You get a long lifetime out of your system as you can gradually replace components and they all comply to the same standard. So there is no added fees for developing drivers or anything to make this work. And you get a reliable interoperability, meaning that when you take the products out of the box and connect them to the system, they work. That has been proven and certified by the manufacturers. It also simplifies the installation as all products, how shall I say, they comply to the same specifications, so they behave the same when they come into the system. Next slide, please. So the purpose of ONVIF for these standards is to achieve this communication between the conformant devices of clients. It's connecting IP cameras to VMS software. It's connecting door controller to access control management software and enabling devices to connect to the cloud to become an IT enabler. It can also communicate between conformant client and devices, connecting VMS software to multiple vendor cameras, IP cameras from different vendors. It can also connect multiple control panels from multiple vendors to the one and same management software. And again, it supplies the connecting device to the cloud and the IoT enabler. ONVIF is also looking into system and system, because if you remember the slide that Tom showed with the bubbles floating together, we can see a very clear need for system to be able to communicate between other systems. ONVIF, which is mainly focusing today in video and access control, is looking at VMS platforms interconnect in safe city scenarios. That could work as the interface between surveillance and traffic management or public safety systems. That can provide mass notification and also be deployed in command center software. You remember the slide that Tom showed that you will have these unified systems that collects data for all these different technical systems that is needed to achieve the efficiency that is required. Next slide, please. And then someone can ask the question, aren't there already communication standards? Why should ONVIF also offer a communication standard? Well, the answer is that ONVIF doesn't really invent a standard by itself. It combines a set of already existing standards for a common language. And that common language is defined for the product so they can intercommunicate with each other. So the ONVIF specification, or the language, or the interface, whatever you decide to call it, is based on it. The usual standards like HTML, HTTP, DNS, IPv6, SOAP, UUID, or WS Discovery. So we're deploying something that's already existing in the standardized world. So we use this procedure to build on accepted and implementing networking standard. And by doing that, we also make it possible for the products or the systems that uses ONVIF to interconnect with all the products and procedures that are needed to create those safe environments. So by producing and creating this common language for security devices and systems, we make it possible then for them to speak with each other. So a common language standardizes this implementation. And of course, this creates a good efficiency, and it also makes it easy for manufacturers to rely on ONVIF, and they don't have to sort of spend time on redeveloping what's already existing out there. Next slide, please. So someone may continue that question and say, well, aren't there other standards out there in your field operation? Well, there is a current landscapes, and we would say that those standards are complementary, not competitive. They can be used together and should be used together. If we look at ONVIF, that's how a camera can talk to a management system, or an access control can talk to management system. Just recently, there was another organization launched called OSSA. They're focusing on common components such as device firmware to make them appear in a standardized format. We have something called OSDP, which is managed by the SEA organization, and that is a standard in the field for having a controller to speak with a keypad. So all different levels of a system can have different standards to make it become efficient. We have PSIA, who works with credential management in situations where property owners have different system in different facility, and they need to move people around these, and they need to move the credentials of the access control users. And then we have standards like Zigbee, Z-Wave, Bluetooth, which are all different ways to carry the messages from the product to the systems. Next slide, please. So what is next? Comprehensive multidiscipline ONVIF standards? Well, we don't really know, have to say. ONVIF is ruled by the members. The members are the manufacturers in the industry, and what the members of the industry feel that is needed to develop to enable this, that is what ONVIF is going to do. Of course, what is provided by ONVIF, we make available for IEC and ISO, so they can continue developing their comprehensive standards for safe city. And predictions, thoughts for the future? Well, I don't know really. I think we come to a point of no return when it comes to interoperability and interconnection of devices. So I think standards like ONVIF has an extremely important role to play, making this happening. Next slide, please.
Now I'm having a problem with it too.
Yep.
Hold on a second.
Yep, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So there we go. One concern that people might have is that standards will be competing, and of course, when it comes, how shall we say, installations and type of deployments that are influenced by governments, there used to be a tendency to look at international standardization like IEC or ISO and those type of organizations. So what ONVIF has done is we have contributed our work to those organizations, specifically to the IEC TC79, which deals with electronic security products. So any element of interoperability in these standards are the ones that are developed by the manufacturer in the industry and made available to the IEC organization. And the good thing here is that these standards are used in the industry. It was mentioned at the beginning of the presentation that ONVIF has more than 10,000 conformant products. We've been around since 2008. So it's really proven that these standards do work. So I feel pretty safe that IEC can put them into their standards. We also collaborate with CF for this OSDP, if you remember what I said about controller and keypad connection in the field. So we work everyone here to harmonize and make sure that no one is taking off in any direction and developing a standard which is competitive what's already out there. Next slide, please. So the benefits of the ONWIF standards. We have a service-oriented architecture. We can replace and update components as needed. We have separated configuration from control monitoring. So an ONWIF client shall expect that all information is stored in the end device and can be changed. So there is no dependency between the management system and device. You can just replace it and it will work. And we are looking at interdisciplinary and interoperability between those. Today we have reached access control and video, and we are of course open to other disciplines within the security industry. Next slide, please. ONWIF uses profiles, and a profile is a limited subset of features, and we use profiles to make sure that a client and a device, being an NVR or a camera or a controller or a control management system, that they talk the same language for the same features. So therefore we have decided to divide this into profiles, very similar to the ONWIF, for example, or to a Bluetooth, which for headset has a headset profile. This also makes it non-dependent on versions of specifications. Once you are profile conformant, that process follows the development of ONWIF. So if you're 5-6 years down the line, you need to replace a Profile S camera because your NVR is Profile S, you can easily pick up any Profile S camera, not having to worry about the version of specification, which is normally the case when we're talking about IT devices. You have to be very careful about the version of software, not mentioning the phone industry, where it's a very rapid development of firmwares. So we have the Profile S, which is a simple video profile that enables maybe 60-70% of all the needed features for a video installation. We have a Profile G for edge storage and retrieval of recorded material. And we have a Profile Q for a quick access, meaning it's easy to get the product out of the box and get it working on the ONWIF network. For the access control part, we have a Profile C, which is a fairly simple access control profile, mainly intended for video management systems to be able to pick up a few sort of vital points like door status, open, close doors, etc., from a access control system. Not long ago, we launched the Profile A, which is more or less the complete profile you need to define or design your little access control management system. And very recently, just like weeks ago, we released Profile T, which is in some terms an update of the Profile S, which is our oldest profile, because we have seen in the video industry that we now have, for example, the H.265 compression technology, which Profile S do not support, but Profile T does. So there are some technical advancements going on which we have to be open to and update our profile concept. Next, please. So how will open standards impact on the market? Well, it will lower the cost of integrated security system. You do not longer have to build once and maintain forever. You build it on conformant products and you can replace them as you go along. It's increasing the consumer awareness and the benefits of integrated system because they become more accessible, more easier to deploy in the market. And it also raises the competition between equipment brands. And that is always healthy to have a good competition. So by lock-in, you're not able to use unmotivated price structures. Next, please. So what can happen beyond the physical security? Well, We would like to welcome logical and physical identity management, workflow automation or utilization optimization, and data analytics. Really what is needed to achieve what Tom described in the earlier part of the presentation. We're looking at different areas, building automation, HVAC and elevator control, anything that can help in the integrated scenario to make things more efficient, to save energy, to increase quality. We also look at fire detection and suppression and mass notification systems, anything that can make our environment safer and more efficient to live within. Next, please. And of course, there will be some barriers to wider adoption of standards. There is always a supplier concern. If I feel that I'm unique, why should I standardize? If I can't really see that standardizing the basics of my product will enable me to put resources on the more unique parts, I think you have to think twice. By keeping your capabilities for the, how should we say, the innovative part of a product and allowing the basics to be standardized, I think there's a lot to gain. Many people might say that these open systems, they lack advanced functionality. And to some extent that is true. But I would say that most products today, they have sufficient feature sets. And you should keep in mind that this baseline from the standards will be increasing gradually. So of course that could be a case where you need to do something on a bespoke fashion and cannot use the standards. In the security industry, end users are slow to trust and adopt new technologies. Well, I think that is something we have to live with. I think we are helped in the industry at large, or even in society, where the acceptance of modern devices. If we just look at the handphone we're carrying in our pocket these days, what we trust the phone companies and the app developers to do with our money and our access to certain things. So I think people is feeling more comfortable with new technology as it develops. And of course, cybersecurity. There is always a concern over integration of multiple systems. What happens if there is a breach? I think we should take this seriously. I think we should take it seriously, and we should scrutinize every single supplier of the system to make sure that they do really have a good standards and following very healthy procedures when it comes to cybersecurity. Next, please. So the open standards, I believe this is the key to the future. End users becoming increasingly educated, as I said, with the development of the smartphones, and they can value the open system approach. No one really questions anything today. They just assume, they say, is there an app for it? But to have an app for it, there needs to be a lot of standardization going on in the background. It enables users to protect their investments by ensuring freedom over time. You can go back and you can use standardized components. You know that my system will be valid for a long time as I can update it gradually. And for Onwif's sake, it's been proven mature. We've been in the market since 2008. We have our 10th anniversary this year. And I think there isn't one major manufacturer that does not, who is not part of the Onwif group any longer. Next, please. This was really the slide that Stuart Rowling was going to elaborate about, because
Right.
Well, you take it from here, Tom?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, just briefly. So if we're going to go to tie this all together and go back to New York City, if we want to avoid being up to our eyeballs in data, we need to have a trusted way to integrate, to share, and protect all of the generated data in a standardized manner that enhances the openness and provides a high degree of future-proofing. Next. So, too far. in the prophetic words of Spider-Man, yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. Okay. Questions?
Okay, questions. I have a question. I'm going to start.
Mm-hmm.
Moderator's prerogative, I guess. So, Per, this may be best addressed to you. Tell us about the IEC and ISO standards initiatives for safe cities. Are they related to what ONVIF is doing in this area? And how do the standards groups work together in scenarios like this?
I would say when it comes to ISO and IEC on Safe City, that is a lot about about procedures at this point. Because in a safe city environment, you're looking at the power grids, the streets, the traffic flows, and a lot of this really needs to be organized in a rational way before you come to standards. If you look at the technical disciplines, like the power grid, the video surveillance systems, or the security systems, they are somehow standardized already. So ISO and IEC, they have a great task here to put everything together and to make sure that all those different standards will be harmonizing. But it's a little bit of a slow work going on. What is good here is that most countries have identified the need for smart and safe cities, so they're sort of pushing on and financing the development to take place quicker.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Well, what's the, and this is, either one of you can respond to this, or maybe you both want to respond. What is the biggest challenge to building the infrastructure for a safe city? Is it technological or social?
You want to try, Tom?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. I mean, there's an awful lot of social pushback on a lot of the interoperability of systems. You know, one of the things that's being done right now is the scrubbing of social media to understand where mobs may show up or where protests may show up, to provide the right type of response to that. On the one hand, that can provide a lot of safety and security to the people that are showing up. You know, making sure that, you know, the two different groups that are showing up are not going to be, you know, fighting with one another, or at least try to mitigate that. On the other hand, you get the big push of, well, you know, Big Brother is watching what you're doing. And so there's a lot of big pushback on a lot of the social interaction. So it's a fine line that they have to walk. Technology-wise, there's more technology available to, you know, actually surveil a city and what's going on in the city than cities can actually deal with.
I think one aspect as well is that people expect or have this idea it's all about high tech. It's all about looking where people are and people do. But there is also a part of this technology. I mean, maybe it sort of ties back to the very beginning of the presentation with all the horses and what they left behind them. I went to a security exhibition here in Europe, and the person invited to speak about the city of Copenhagen's first IoT project. That was actually a humidity sensor which was planted along the trees in the alleys in the city to keep a track on the humidity level in the soil, to more efficiently plan the trucks that went around watering the plants. And that's also a smart city contribution. And they managed to reduce the traffic by 60% of these trucks just going around and watering plants. And that's also a smart deployment. But people tend to think that it's all got to be high tech. And that is not necessarily the answer to it. It also could be the very simple things that could be organized in a much more rational manner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Will ONVIF support content standards, for example, analytic data?
Well, already today, ONVIF supports what we call events, and most of the analytics we have today in the products of the industry is more or less an event created by some sort of analytic feature. It could be you're trespassing a line, or it's a motion that stops, or anything like this. And those are then transferred as events. But of course, ONVIF needs to look into expanding that how shall we say, capability of transmitting different type of events. Because this is a parallel development in industry where devices become smarter, they can do more on the edge. And those results coming out of those devices needs to be communicated back to the system. So definitely ONVIF will need to address that to be able to deal with a bigger array of different messages.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have another ONVIF specific question, and that is, how is ONVIF educating or creating awareness with end users about openness?
Oh, we do videos, we go to exhibitions, we host webinars like this. We take any opportunity we get to speak to the industry at large, to end users, to installers, to media, and really trying to tell the good story about ONVIF.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And I have a sort of a wrap-up question here. In what ways do you foresee, and you both may want to take a shot at this, and in what ways do you foresee the needs of a safe city changing in the next 5 years or 10 years?
You want to go, Tom?
It's funny. Every time you make a prediction of what they have to do and where they're going to go, as I said in my opening presentation, it's going to change. We have more and more people moving into cities, moving out of some of the more urban areas. Cities are going more vertical. If you look at cities like in the Middle East, like Dubai and a few other places, they're going more and more vertical to deal with the people density. So I think where they're going to go, it's going to be much more interoperability, much more automation. I think with the advent of automated vehicles, the interconnection between the automated vehicle and the inner city traffic system is going to be more and more important to control the flow. And I think eventually you're going to have it where when a car enters the city management system is going to take over control of that vehicle and direct it to where it's going to go. So I think the goal is to make things move smoother and more safer. I think that's sort of where it's going to go. I think again that the only way that can happen is through the introduction of integration standards. You're not going to affect the how, but you're going to affect how they interconnect and talk to one another.
Mm-hmm.
I think the driver behind that is that people still want to do what they want, but to be able to do that, you have to sort of organize a lot of things in the background because you as a person, you can only view the things that are around you. You cannot sort of predict what the traffic will be in the next block. And that's what Tom said. Someone might take over controls and direct you to do things which you don't know is better for you in that instant.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Sort of like navigating with Waze. When Waze tells you to go somewhere else, you have to have some faith that they know more about the traffic than what you can see out your car window.
Absolutely. That's a very good example.
Those wrap up the questions that we have. I do want to just remind everybody that we've recorded this session. So everyone who is registered for it will receive an email either this afternoon or tomorrow with a link to the recording. And please feel free to share it with anyone who you think would be interested in it. I found this fascinating myself. So I think others would be, and please share that link around. I want to thank our presenters, Tom and Per, and thanks again to our sponsor, ONVIF, and thanks to everyone who joined us today. We'll see you next time.
Well, thank you for getting the opportunity.
Great. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thanks.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.